Building a technology company forces you into a paradox. Designing a functional product requires your team to embrace high-friction complexity, but getting anyone to actually buy that product requires aggressive, ruthless abstraction. This creates a dual burden for technical teams during a launch. They are tasked with configuring secure, enterprise-grade Azure environments while simultaneously trying to translate that dense architecture into buyer-friendly explainer videos. If your team over-indexes on the engineering side, you end up with a brilliant platform that follows every security best practice. But if the messaging remains entirely technical, prospects often leave your site simply because they don't see how the tool applies to them. On the flip side, over-indexing on marketing can lead to a product that acquires users quickly, only to lose them just as fast when they encounter performance bottlenecks or security vulnerabilities. You are dealing with a strict cognitive trade-off. The builder's mindset focuses inward on system mechanics and architecture. The buyer's mindset focuses outward on pain relief and outcomes. This comparison matrix maps out the tension between these two worlds. We call it the SAS chasm. On the left side is technical system logic, the code and the data pipelines. On the right are human pain relief outcomes. Mastering both domains at the same time requires a specific set of strategic trade-offs. When a team struggles to switch context between these two perspectives, the gap between what is built and what is communicated becomes the primary friction point for growth. Let's start in the builder's domain. When you set up an environment like Azure App Service, complexity cannot be avoided. It must be managed. Hard-coded secrets in your application code are a massive liability. Instead, rely on Azure App Settings to pass encrypted environment variables into your application at runtime. The immediate security benefit here is absolute separation. Your developers can keep their local configuration variables entirely walled off from the secure credentials used in the live production environment. This split-screen flowchart highlights the operational cost of that security. Following the path for configuring the middle, you can see the manual burden placed on your team. They must map and manage individual key value pairs across multiple deployment slots. The granularity required is extreme. If you are running a Linux container, a nested JSON key like Application Insights instrumentation key will fail unless your team replaces the colon with a double underscore in the app service configuration. To scale these updates without breaking the live application, you must implement continuous deployment, or CI/CD. CI/CD automates your code pushes, but it demands heavy upfront pipeline architecture. Every hour spent configuring deployment triggers is an hour pulled away from shipping core product features. In the builder's domain, leaning into friction and managing granular details is the only way to guarantee a secure platform. That friction extends to how you authenticate your CI/CD pipelines, specifically when using tools like GitHub Actions to push code to Azure. Basic authentication relies on static publishing profiles, which can be exposed or leaked. A user-assigned managed identity removes that risk by tying access directly to the Azure resource itself. By utilizing OpenID Connect, your pipeline authenticates dynamically. You eliminate the need to generate, manage, or rotate static credentials. The trade-off is administrative speed. Setting up a managed identity requires elevated Azure AD administrator permissions. Without the right role assignments, the deployment grinds to a halt until IT intervenes. When securing the backend, opting for the slower, more complex administrative path is a mandatory trade-off for long-term product integrity. But the moment that product faces the market, the rules invert. In the buyer's domain, all technical complexity must be aggressively hidden. Take enterprise cloud deployments. The best way to explain them is through minimalist 2D motion graphics. To make minimalism work, you have to prioritize clarity over cinematic polish. You strip away transitions and dense feature lists, leaving only the elements that serve the explanation. You also have to leverage contrast. People buy relief from problems they already feel. Effective marketing shows the chaos of a disorganized workflow right next to the calm, coordinated reality of using the solution. The cost of the contrast method is screen time. You dedicate up to 50% of a video's runtime purely to showcasing the buyer's problem, leaving very little time to show off your actual user interface. When technology is intimidating, companies pivot to live-action human application. By filming real people executing everyday tasks, buyers see immediate utility without parsing technical descriptions. But live-action video ages quickly. The moment your software UI gets an update, a live-action shoot becomes much harder to update than an animated graphic. The ultimate goal is hiding the middle. Global financial infrastructure involves banks, processors, and settlement networks, but the marketing only shows money moving securely from point A to point B. The buyer's domain demands an editorial focus. Engineers must accept that their most difficult back-end work remains completely invisible to the user. Successfully scaling a B2B SaaS platform requires an ability to switch between system logic and human emotion. This quadrant chart plots how to navigate this shift. Technical founders rely on Azure CI/CD and managed identities to protect code. At market, stop explaining it. Spend marketing on visual frameworks to help buyers self-educate rather than technical feature lists. For marketers, the mandate operates in reverse. You must understand the Azure backend infrastructure to confidently promise secure, continuous delivery. But despite knowing that infrastructure, you must restrict your front-end message to the before and after human outcomes. Market-leading companies decouple their systems from their stories, investing heavily in back-end logic while leading their customers toward a singular human outcome.